Hi, I'm Mr. Santamon, and today we're going to draw dress shirts and sweatshirts.
Oh, chubbicorn.
This lesson is inspired by the How to Think When You Draw series by Lorenzo Etherington, specifically this page about shirts. So notice that when my arm is at rest, you can see the lines of tension gathering in at the armpit here because you have two different directions of fabric going out and down. So the wrinkles are going to be folding up. You may also see some tension coming from the shoulders, just depending on the fit of the fabric. Now, when my arm is stretched up, you'll see that those tension lines are still going toward the armpit because it's, again, two different directions of fabric being pulled. So you're always going to want to draw the direction of where it's being pulled. So the arm is going up, wrinkles are kind of forming along that tension, and then also down like this. All right, so we'll start off with our typical base pose with the little circle head and the rectangular torso. So this figure will be facing us. Draw the little neck this time, and then sloping shoulders. And this first figure will be wearing a dress shirt. So arms at the sides, nothing special about the pose, just symmetrical, as symmetrical as you can possibly make it. And then the little cuffs, and then little like where the shirt goes into the belt, and then hands. Don't worry about the hands, we're really not focusing on that for this particular lesson. All right, so then we have the line of the shirt, so the opening of the shirt. And then I'll just draw a little crosshairs there for the center of the face and where the eyes would be. Now I'm taking my brush pen just to focus on the wrinkles of the shirt and some of the detailed features. So starting with the collar, you'll notice that the end of the collar has that point, but it's parallel to the top part of the collar where it narrows a little bit. So it's wider near the bottom and then it tapers up a little bit toward the neck. We'll just draw the neck first. I'm not going to worry about the head at all. Sloping of the shoulders. Now you'll notice that most of the lines of this shirt are very angular, and that's just because the fabric is starchy and kind of has a crispy, kind of like hard fold to it when it wrinkles. Notice these little tension wrinkles in the armpit, and then I drew some at the elbow as well. So armpit and elbow are probably the most tension areas in this particular pose. And then you might see a little bit of lines near the bottom. So like right here where the shirt will be tucked into pants. So maybe the lines kind of, settle. The shirt settles from gravity around where the belt is cinching off the shirt. And then let's just draw a little line down the middle representing where the shirt buttons together. And then I'll just add hands, but again, don't worry about hands. If you can't get them, just draw little ovals or little triangles coming out of the sleeves. All right, so there you go. So you can see how angular that particular clothing is. That because of the starchy fabric kind of creates those sharp angles. Now, opposite that, I'm going to draw a hoodie. So with sweatshirts, they are thicker material. It's a little bit heavier material, and it's going to have softer creases and overall a softer shape. So we'll draw the exact same figure. So just a regular torso. And then hands at the sides. And then we'll draw a little bit wider opening for the hood. So notice how it's not that deep of a V, it's more of a wide V. And then we'll draw with my brush pen. This is a Copic Gassenfude brush pen. It's my favorite to work with. And then you can see the hood that goes behind the neck, and then there are some wrinkles. Notice I'm wobbling the line. It's going out past the shape of the arm. I can make that even baggier and looser if I wanted to make a larger sweatshirt. A lot of people like to wear like oversized hoodies. So I have some wobbly lines there, softer lines. Notice how I don't think I have a straight line on here except for the cinching of the fabric at the cuffs. A little bit of tension lines at the armpit, so there will be some wrinkles there. And then where there's the elastic around the base of the hoodie. Draw some drawstrings right here coming out from just below the opening of the hood, and then some pockets, little lines for where those pockets are. So you can see how the difference between the two. The dress shirt has sharper angles and the hoodie is very soft. All right, so now I'm going to draw a female torso. And the reason for this is, again, to show how a shirt or clothing fits over a form. So we're going to draw a torso with a little bit more shape to it, a little more specificity. So we'll have some lines going out representing the chest and then back out, fanning out for where the hips would be just below that. Now in this case, we have sloped shoulders from the top. We're going to draw this female torso in a dress shirt, just like we did with the first pose. And then the cuffs, and then simple hands, just thumb and forefinger. All right, now for the opening of the collar. Okay, now the brush pen to show the detail. Once again, I will draw the neck, and then I will build the collar around the neck. So we have the little M shape for the base, and then narrowing collar at the top, but parallel to the base part of the collar, if that makes sense. Collar goes behind the neck, and then we have the chest, the shirt coming over with the tension lines, just like I talked about in the video in the beginning. So this shirt is a more snug fitting dress shirt, like more fitted. You can see the tension also now down at the bottom where it's being tucked in at the sides and front. And then now for the little tension lines at the elbow. And then again, those sharp angles, a little bit of tension there behind the chest for the armpit. And you can see those harsh angles everywhere. Is really like not a lot of curved lines. Everything has pretty much a straight line to represent the starchiness of this shirt. And then we just have some detail for the belt and belt loops. Simple hands, and then this pose is pretty much done. All right, we'll do the female torso again, this time in the hoodie, just to show the subtle difference of the fabric draping or fitting over different forms. So this would be the upper part of the torso ending at the top of the hips. Slope of the shoulders, and then arms down at sides. This time I just drew a different hand, just because I got bored with the other ones. Just mixing it up a little bit. Now we are I'm going to switch over and just draw that wider neckline opening for the hoodie, with the hood going behind the neck, some wrinkles in the front, and then over the chest, a little bit of tension lines laterally this time, and then some loose lines that are curving, kind of wobbly lines representing the looseness of the fabric, the heaviness of the fabric. And then the tension, there's the tightness of the wrist with the elastic. And then little drawstrings coming out, kind of curved, again following the curvature of the chest. And then a little bit of tension lines at the armpit. We really won't see tension lines at the elbows, just like the previous drawing. And then we have that closed up, tighter base for the elastic. And then of course the pockets. And of course I will trace the hands, but that's pretty much it for this one. So those are just the two differences, two different body types, and two different fabrics and clothing. Okay, so hopefully you see a difference between those two. Now I want to show you how the fabric looks when it is scrunched up over an arm. So we're going to draw a forearm with a little square for the palm of the hand and then a thumb sticking out from the base. Draw some fingers coming out from there. Now, if you want to try your best at drawing, a hand, you can. It's good practice. Notice how I draw it, kind of peeking up the middle finger and then toning down for the ring and pinky. I'll do that again for the next hand. So forearm, draw pretty much the exact same hand, outstretched. Thumb coming out from the base of the square, and then fingers going up to kind of like a spade, the point being that middle finger, and then curving down toward index and the other fingers on the other side. All right, so now for a sweatshirt. So here's a hoodie on the left, and then we have a dress shirt on the right. So there's the cuff of the dress shirt. The hoodie is going to have that cinched elastic. And then I will just go straight in with brush pen here. So I'm going to draw a lot of curved half circle puffy lines to really show the thickness of the fabric, but how smooth and curved the fabric is. It's not starchy at all. It's the opposite of a dress shirt. So those little thin lines for the cinched part, and then puffy half circles, just really, really like it's cinched, but it's also heavier fabric, and there's not a straight line on there, all curved lines. And I'll just trace out the hand. All right, so for this next one, it's going to be that starchy dress shirt, and you'll see pretty much the opposite. I really want to emphasize, it's probably a little exaggerated when you see me get to the shirt part. Let me just trace the hand first this time. Hands are not easy, so don't beat yourself up if you can't draw these hands. I forgot to draw the little palm line. It's okay. All right, so focusing on the shirt, let's just see that. Watch how squared and angular these wrinkles are. So the cuff is also, probably the only rounded part of this. Every single line that I'm drawing is just like a sharp angle, right? Like zigzags with like lines that are kind of zigzagging in the middle. But that's a little bit exaggerated, but it just shows the difference between that starched fabric of a dress shirt versus the heavy fabric of a sweatshirt. And then just the arrows showing they're being scrunched up. All right, so moving on, I'm going to do some poses now with these figures. I'm going to draw a person, just our standard torso, just waving. So I'll have like one arm down, one arm up a little bit, like a casual wave. So this arm on our left is down. And then the other arm, elbow is down at the like halfway down the torso, so the base of the rib cage. And then forearm, there's the hand out, fingers outstretched. And then just that basic hand down below. All right, so this figure will be wearing a dress shirt, and I'm going to just show you the difference in the tension on the stretch dress shirt. So we'll do that opening again, little V with the little side collar points, like the M shape. Think of an M, I guess, the best way to think of it. All right, there's the collar. Then I'm going to draw those tension lines right at the armpits. This one will have the same tension at the elbows and armpits, and that's pretty much it. The arm is just kind of going straight down. You could probably draw lines stretching down the length of the arm too, I guess. But you don't want to go overboard with too many lines. You want to really like pick and choose some. Because if you have too many lines, it just looks weird. I would experiment though. I would like look at photos or look at, have somebody pose for you and just see what are the most significant lines on the shirt. Now in this case, we have the elbow, these crunchy, starchy lines at the bend of the elbow. And then that's pretty much it. So there's the outstretched hand. And then we'll draw this other hand just down here. All right, so this next pose will be a female torso doing the exact same pose. So we'll have just the head and torso, but slightly altered torso. And then we'll draw the sloping shoulder, followed by the arm down at the side. and then the arm down, but then back up. Hand on the end of those, outstretched. And then the opening of the hoodie. Okay, back to the brush pen. So we'll start with the neck, draw that open V with the curve of the hood behind the neck. And then I will draw the shape of the fabric, kind of going over the chest, a little bit of line stretched out like that, laterally. And then we have, of course, the cinching of the sweatshirt at the bottom. I don't know what that's called. I should look that up. Then we have the pockets, drawstring, and arm down, just wobbly line representing the looseness of the fabric. And then that little wrist thing. Cuff, I guess it's the cuff. And then a couple, look at those lines there. If you look at both drawings side by side, you can see that the hoodie has curved lines, whereas the dress shirt has angled lines, like sharper, straighter lines. So that's the big difference I wanted to show. All this work to show just the difference of two little lines. Anyway, sorry about that. It's good practice to keep drawing. Always draw. Even if it seems redundant, you'll just get better. Your muscle memory will, internalize it. And then I'll draw her shoulders here, and then maybe like a shirt underneath. Okay, so now the last two poses I'm going to draw for this video are going to be this will be the female torso that is now reaching up. Like this arm is going to be going up high, like hailing a cab or waving at somebody further away. So this is like, or waving at somebody you haven't seen in a long time at an airport or something, I don't know. And also notice that I've tilted the shoulders. So one side is lower and the other side is lifted up to help that arm reach even higher. So keep that in mind when drawing a pose, is where the shoulders are tilted. So I did say this is a female torso. I'm just adding the chest now, a little after the fact. And again, it's a form-fitting shirt. So you'll see a lot of wrinkles in different directions here. So let me just clean up the lines. I forgot to do the torso shape early on. So let me fix this really quick here. All right, so coming in with brush pen, we have the collar first. Collar really doesn't change, except in this one, it does go up a little bit on the right side just because the arm is reaching up. And then I'll draw the tension lines for the armpit, the chest. We have on the other side, angling up a little bit. And then wrinkles, or like tension lines here. And now on this side, on the reaching side, you're going to have more lines going toward where the person is reaching. So let me show you, like right in the armpit area, we'll have some lines like diagonal toward the armpit. And I don't have a lot of space. I realize that this is like a really skinny shirt sleeve. I probably should have given myself a bit of a looser fit, just because trying to draw wrinkles and also draw the form makes it look like a little like dehydrated like piece of beef jerky or something. I don't know. I should have just given more like fabric space. So yeah, that looking back on this drawing now, I would loosen up the shirt a bit more. All right, so outstretched hand, just drawing the fingers. You can see now while I'm drawing those fingers, look at where all those points of tension are, where the belt is tucked in, the elbow, the armpit, and then the outreached arm. Oh, and then the chest, of course. All right, this next one is going to be our regular torso. And then same pose, but wearing a hoodie. So we'll just see how much fewer lines there are with the hoodie. So the base pose is established. basic hand, and then a wider opening for the hoodie. I'm going to switch to brush pen. And then now just filling out that collar opening. Now this time the hoodie is going to be crunched up between the shoulder and the neck. So I have just some like wrinkled lines there that kind of disappear under the head. And then the drawstrings here. And then the bulk of the sweatshirt. Just some tension lines. You probably would have just maybe one. I drew a few too many there, but maybe just one tension line to emphasize that stretch. And then there's the lower cinched part, wobbly lines for the straightened arm, no tension lines there. And then the cuff. And the pocket. And then the arm stretched up. The problem with drawing big head characters is you can see right here, what do you do with the sleeve? Do you put the arm behind the head or do you put the arm in front of the head? So if you ever see like giant like Sanrio characters or something, you kind of wonder like how do they shampoo their hair, right? I mean, if we're really getting that realistic. So drawing large head characters does have a disadvantage when you're drawing the arms above the head. You have to just kind of think about that when you're designing a character. Do you want to deal with that or do you want to make them a little bit more proportional to real life? And then the neck and a shirt underneath. All right, you guys, that is the end of this video. Let me just ink this hand. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I know it's a long one, but thanks for, staying true to the end. And please subscribe if you haven't. All right, thanks again. Bye.